My name is Dr. Emily Foster. I'm 35 years old, and I'm about to tell you the story of how my family made me give up my medical career for my sister and what happened when I finally found the proof. I was 24 years old when I started medical school. I had a dream. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to save lives. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help people. I wanted to heal people. I wanted to make the world a better place. I had always wanted to be a doctor. I had always wanted to help people. I had always wanted to stand up for what was right. I had always wanted to make a difference. I worked hard. I studied hard. I sacrificed everything. I got into medical school. I graduated. I became a doctor. I started my residency. I was on my way. I was living my dream. I was achieving everything I had ever wanted. My parents were proud of me. They said, "Emily, we're so proud of you. You've done so well. You've achieved so much." My sister was jealous. She said, "Emily, you got lucky. You just got lucky. You didn't work for it." I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I just kept working. I just kept studying. I just kept moving forward. I just kept becoming the person I wanted to be. My sister's name was Jessica. She was 2 years younger than me. She had always been the favorite. She had always gotten everything she wanted. She had always been given everything. She had never worked for anything. She had never worked hard. She had never sacrificed anything. She had never achieved anything. She had never done anything. She was jealous of me. She was jealous of my success. She was jealous of my career. She was jealous of everything. She wanted what I had. She wanted to be me. My mother said, "Emily, your sister is struggling. She doesn't know what to do with her life. She needs help. She needs guidance. She needs you." I said, "Mom, I can help her. I can give her advice. I can guide her. But I can't give her my career. I can't give her my life." My mother said, "Emily, you're being selfish. You're always so selfish. Your sister needs this. She needs a chance. She needs a fresh start." My parents pressured me. They pressured me every day. They said I had to help my sister. They said I had to give her my career. They said I had to give her my life. They said I had to sacrifice everything for her. My mother said, "Emily, if you give your sister your career, she'll have a future. She'll have something to do with her life. She'll be happy." My father said, "Emily, this is what family does. This is what good people do. You're a good person. You'll do the right thing." I was surrounded. I was pressured. I was guilt. I was manipulated. I was cornered. I had no choice. I gave up my career. I gave up my dream. I gave everything to my sister. I gave her everything I had. My sister took over my career. She took my job. She took my patience. She took my reputation. She took everything. She took everything I had built. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know how to be a doctor. She didn't know how to help people. She didn't know how to do anything. She was incompetent. She was useless. She was terrible. She ruined everything. She lost patience. She lost cases. She lost respect. She lost everything. She destroyed everything I built. She ruined everything I worked for. I watched her destroy my career. I watched her ruin my reputation. I watched her waste everything I had built. I was devastated. I was hurt. I was angry. I said, "Mom, Jessica destroyed my career. She lost everything. She didn't even try." My mother said, "Emily, you can't blame her. She just wasn't ready. She needed more time. She needed more support." I didn't go back to medicine. I couldn't. I had no reputation. I had no patience. I had no future. I had nothing. I had lost everything. I worked minimum wage jobs. I struggled. I survived. I worked at a coffee shop. I worked at a grocery store. I worked at anything I could find. I did anything I could to survive. I didn't complain. I didn't ask for help. I just kept going. I just kept surviving. I just kept living. My parents didn't help me. They didn't care. They only cared about Jessica. They only cared about themselves. I started over. I started from nothing. I rebuilt my life. I rebuilt my career. I rebuilt everything. It took 5 years. It was hard. It was painful. It was exhausting. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but I did it. I rebuilt everything. I rebuilt my life. I rebuilt my career. I rebuilt my future. I started a new practice. It was small. It was simple. But it was mine. It was my own. It was everything I had ever wanted. When I was 32, I started to suspect something. I started to suspect that my parents had never wanted me to succeed. I started to suspect that they had planned everything. I noticed things. I noticed that my mother was always pushing me to give up my career. I noticed that my father was always supporting Jessica. I noticed that Jessica was always getting everything she wanted. I started to ask questions. I said, "Mom, why did you make me give up my career? Why didn't you let me keep it?" My mother said, "Emily, we were trying to help you. We were trying to protect you. We were doing what was best for everyone." I said, "Mom, it wasn't best for me. It wasn't best for my career. It was best for Jessica. It was best for you. It was never about me." Part 8. The Patient's File. I was 35 years old when I got a call from a former patient. Her name was Mrs. Patricia Henderson. She was 75 years old. She had been a patient of mine 10 years ago. "Emily," she said, "I have something for you. Something I've been keeping for 10 years. It's a file. A file on your sister. A file on your parents." I said, "What file?" She said, "Your mother came to me 10 years ago. She asked me to stop seeing you as a doctor. She told me you were unreliable. She told me you were unprofessional. She told me you were going to fail." I was shocked. I was hurt. I was angry. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I met her. She handed me a file. It was thick. It was full of papers. It was full of everything. "Emily," she said, "I've been keeping this for 10 years. I wanted someone to know the truth." I opened the file. I started reading. I couldn't stop. Dr. Emily Foster. Age 24. Started practicing medicine. Has a good reputation. Has a bright future. Has everything going for her. Mrs. Foster came to me. She said her daughter Emily was unreliable. She said she was unprofessional. She said she was going to fail. She asked me to stop seeing her as a doctor. I didn't believe her. I knew Emily. I knew she was a good doctor. I knew she was a good person. I knew she was going to succeed. But I also knew her mother. I knew her mother was manipulative. I knew her mother was controlling. I knew her mother would do anything to get what she wanted. I kept the file. I kept it for 10 years. I wanted someone to know the truth. I read the entire file. I cried. I couldn't stop crying. I realized everything. My mother had sabotaged me. She had turned my patients against me. She had destroyed my reputation. She had taken everything from me. I called Mrs. Henderson. I said, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me what was happening?" She said, "I didn't know how. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't think you were ready. But I think now you are." I went to my mother's house. I had the file in my hand. I had the proof. I had everything. My mother was in the kitchen. She was cooking dinner. She didn't look up when I walked in. She said, "Emily, what are you doing here? You didn't call." I said, "Mom, we need to talk." I placed the file on the counter. I said, "Mom, do you know what this is?" She looked at it. She said, "What is this?" I said, "This is a file from Mrs. Henderson. It's a file on you. It's a file on everything you did to me." I started reading from the file. I read about the sabotage. I read about the manipulation. I read about the lies. I read about everything. My mother's face turned pale. She said, "Emily, I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Mom, I have proof. I have evidence. I have everything. You sabotaged me. You turned my patients against me. You destroyed my reputation. You took everything from me. If you've ever been forced to give up your dream for someone who didn't deserve it, I want you to hear something. You didn't deserve what happened to you. You didn't deserve to be used. You didn't deserve to be manipulated. You didn't deserve to be taken advantage of. You deserve to have your own dreams. You deserve to have your own future. You deserve to have your own life. My name is Dr. Emily Foster. I'm 35 years old. I gave up my medical career for my sister. And I rebuilt everything. If this story made you feel something, drop a comment below. Tell me the word that describes what you feel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Subscribe for more stories like this. Thank you for listening to mine.